Welcome to the Miniatures Cabinet Episode 3. So this is the third edition of the Miniatures Cabinet, and like I said in episode 2, I still don't have any feedback as to the format of these videos because they are being filmed before the first episode has even been released. I am a fool. But I will be taking note of any of your comments and criticisms for future episodes before I film those. There shouldn't be any more than these 3. So again, please let me know what you think in the comments below. So as usual, we're going to take a look at 5 miniatures I've painted and tell a little story. There's a dog being savaged outside my window. Tell a little story about how and why I painted them. So let's jump in and have a look at our first miniature. Okay, so the first miniature on today's painting log is a squat. And this is apparently or allegedly an RT-03 squat from one of the initial releases of Warhammer 40,000. His name is Blish Browning, according to my many sources of Twitter and Instagram. If it's an incorrect name, I do apologise, and you can blame the people who told me that. I think if you were to go back in time and look at the old White Dwarf magazines or the catalogues, you may be able to find out what his name is. But sadly, there was a little bit of indecisiveness on the name because someone else said there was a Citadel combat card which had the same miniature with a different name, so perhaps that was just his twin brother. Like I said before, this is from one of the first squat releases. I think this may have even been the very first batch of squats that were designed for Warhammer 40,000 in the Rogue Trader era. This is part of my Oldhammer project where I am trying to paint as many old miniatures as I can. I do have a big stash of them and I'm kind of trying to work through them in the order in what does that work, or in the order that they were released? I don't think I needed to say in what, did I? Now, interestingly, after I painted this, it took me a little while to come up with a scheme I think I liked in my head, and I went with the very old style white studs on the shoulder pads, and it has given it a kind of ladybird look, although ladybirds have black spots, don't they? Anyway, in America, apparently, they call them ladybugs, which is fascinating. As to what he's equipped with, I'm, again, not entirely sure. I'm assuming that's some kind of hand flamer, some small flamer weapon, and what appears to be a 1990s era Game Boy. Ah, I've missed a trick there, haven't I? I should go back and paint that light grey now with some red buttons. That would be epic. Oh well, live and learn. Second on the list of today's painting log is a pair of Genestealers, everybody's favourite space alien. This pair of Genestealers are a mould from either the original Space Hulk board game or Space Crusade. I'm not sure if they were the same sculpt or if they were slightly different. Again, these are part of a project I'm working on, and this time it's the speed-painted Genestealer Cult project, of which I've only ever painted Genestealers and no cultists, so it really should just be a Tyrannid project, or should it even be a Genestealer project? You tell me. I just work here. Interestingly enough, as I thought they would be best played on an old Space Crusade or Space Hulk type game tile, a game tile, not the game, I figured it would be a good idea. I can't speak today. I figured it would be a good idea to give them Necromunda bases, because these fit that old aesthetic quite well. What I should have done to give them an era appropriate base would be to give them like a granny grid grating base, or something like that maybe. Now, as these are old sculpts, I decided to give them an era appropriate. That's a phrase I'm using quite a lot. Maybe I should just rename everything era appropriate. I have decided to paint the strange patch on the top of their head. It's like a yellow zigzaggy, diagonal, rhombusy thing. I saw this on some of the first Rogue Trader Genestealers and I've always wanted to copy it, so I managed to do it on these. Sadly, you can't do it on the newer ones because they have a ridgy thing on their head, which is not as cool. Also of note, as this was part of the speed painting project, I've noticed I didn't paint the eyes. So is that something, I'm turning into Sean Connery now, is that something I should return to? You let me know. You tell me what I should do. We have another Talisman miniature up next, and there's always probably going to be a couple of Talisman miniatures in these painting logs in the early days, because I do have a few of these to get through. And this one is the Talisman Toad. I decided to paint the first toad in what you would probably consider an era-appropriate, a realistically themed approach, maybe a historically, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It looks like a toad and I decided to paint it in a realistic manner. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's green. Are toads green or are they brown? Oh my word, I don't actually know now. I'm starting to second guess myself. Anyway, I thought green would be the ideal first colour choice for my first toad. There are 4. Also, I decided to paint it on a cobblestone base, and I've realised now that those cobblestones are actually quite big. So this is either a massive toad or tiny cobblestones. We may have to go back and readdress that. Are the toads in Talisman big, or are they standard toad size? I did enjoy painting the texture on his back, all those lumps and bumps and ridges and mumps. Apparently, someone once told me that if you lick a toad, it can make you hallucinate. Apparently, licking a toad is a supplement of choice for some people. I probably wouldn't try it myself. You'd never know where that toad has been. Don't go out and lick a toad, for God's sake. Also, I had a great time painting the eyes on this one. I really did try to get some depth into those eyes. Apparently, they are the windows to the soul. It's not your soul, it's not my soul, it's our soul. All I did there was just paint them normally and add quite a lot of Vallejo gloss varnish to the top. For some reason I pronounce the with an L nowadays. L. We can't be having that. Back to pronunciation class as I go. Oh, also of note, it is not apparently meant to be a normal toad. According to the Talisman game, it's a slimy toad. So perhaps I should have painted some slime effects on there. Now here I have a big oval base which I use as my dry brushing palette to wipe paint off my brushes when I'm painting. However, on the reverse of this base there's some text here which has been embossed onto the plastic, and the text reads, "If you're enjoying this video then please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel." That means you, Josh. If you are enjoying the content here on the channel then please consider joining the Patreon, the link to which is in the description below or up here somewhere. Here we go. It's another Talisman miniature. This could almost be an advert for the Talisman game, but it is not. I wonder what the Bard thinks of the Talisman game. Do you think he would think it was better than Hero Quest? That could be a debate for the ages. Now, this is, in my opinion, a poorly painted miniature. Sorry, I do have to admit it's bad. Look at those robes. My only excuse is this is one of the first miniatures I painted after a brief hiatus from the hobby. Things happened in life and I could not paint for a little while, and I decided that the Reaper, a very high profile character in a very hard to paint scheme, would be the best character to return to, and it has come out poorly. I tried to get an almost high contrast black effect going on with the robes there, but it looks more grey and I don't think it works that well. Maybe it would work if I gave it another black wash or something, or a black filter or glaze. I don't know. I guess I could just strip it and repaint it. However, I was quite happy with my non-metallic blade I attempted on the head of the scythe there. Scythe, now that's a cool weapon, isn't it? We need to see more scythes in the game. So yes, I don't often attempt that's not even a word, attempt non-metallic weapons. Non-metallic metal, so yes, I'm quite happy with the results of this. As he is the Reaper, and he's supposed to be some sort of ghost or spirit, I decided he should have a very plain base. So I just painted that black, and that has actually come out quite tidy, so I am happy with that as well. Also of note, he is a very small miniature, so painting that skull on his face was actually quite hard. I think if I returned to this, I'd probably paint them very brightly with a lot of washes just in the detail to make things considerably easier. Of note, in the game he's not the Reaper, he is the Grim Reaper, and he oftentimes will actually challenge you to a game of chess, or occasionally just kills you outright. Now here's a blast from the past. It is a Dreadnought, and first off I do have to apologise for the poor focus on this piece of clip, this part of the footage, or whatever you want to call it, because for some reason my camera did not like focusing on this miniature. I think it's time for a new camera maybe. If anyone has any recommendations for a camera that can take footage at close-up range, then please let me know in the comments below. So this Dreadnought was painted in the scheme of the Space Sharks, or the Carcharodons astra. Some people call them the Carcharodons, but again, I'm not an expert on pronunciation. However, I do feel Carcharodons is the correct pronunciation. I actually would like to do a video on different pronunciations in the Warhammer universe. That would be interesting, I feel. Anyway, I decided to paint this in the more modern Forge World Badab War era scheme, which is more grey with black shoulder pads, as it were, on a Dreadnought. They also had a white faceplate, the lower half anyway, as opposed to the older Space Sharks, which were just all over grey, and I think they had a red stripe to denote their trooper status. I may be wrong, I may have to go all the way back and have a look at those. This one was painted for a campaign we were doing at the club back in the day, organised by my good friend Will. Hello Will, if you're out there. We didn't finish this campaign, I don't know why. It was actually one of the better campaigns we ever played. Anyway, that was when Badab War was a big thing, and sadly now it's not. It was soon overtaken by the Horus Heresy. Word on the street is that the Badab War was like a practice run for Forge World of doing the Horus Heresy, to gauge interest in a whole game of Space Marines, and I think that gamble paid off. This is of course a box Dreadnought. I think the term is a Castroferum Dreadnought, and at the time I did not like these at all when they were available. I thought they looked very stupid. However, after all the Contemptors now, which are arguably the better design, I have to admit these are starting to look better again in my mind's eye. I do not know why. Now sadly, being Space Sharks, it is grey and therefore very boring, so I am half tempted to strip this back down to plastic and paint it in a more colourful scheme, more era appropriate, if you will. So that was the third episode of the Miniatures Cabinet, and what did you think of those miniatures? What did you like? What did you not like? How would you have painted those miniatures differently? As always, let me know your comments, criticisms and feedback, both about the miniature paint jobs and the video format style. Let us all know in the comments below. If you want to see some more Miniatures Cabinet painting episodes, and I hope you do, then check out the playlist up here somewhere. As always, thank you very much for watching, and always remember to drill your barrels.